Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Holden, and I'll be doing my professional presentation on learning and memory. Now, for starters, I would like to take a moment to actually tell you a little bit about what exactly learning and what exactly memory is. So, learning. Learning is when you acquire new information. It's a process that leads to change, which occurs as a result of experience and increases the potential for improved performance and future learning. It is also known that when dealing with learning, our experiences tend to change our nervous system and our behavior. Now, when it comes to memory, memory is the psychological processes of acquiring, storing, retaining, and later retrieving information. It's also known that long-term changes in the nervous system follows the process of learning. Now, with that last statement, it's very important that you know exactly what they're talking about. When it comes to learning and memory, they coexist with each other. So without one, there is absolutely no way we can have the other. Again, it's also known that long-term changes in the nervous system follows the process of learning. Now, in order for us to have memories, we have to be able to have the ability to learn different materials. Hence the fact that we need to have one in order to have the other. Next, I would like for us to get into the different types of learning. Stimulus response learning is the ability to learn to perform a particular behavior when a particular stimulus is present. Now, these specific stimuluses are classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Now, it's very important that we know the basics about what both classical and operant conditioning even means. Now, with classical conditioning, it's a learning process that occurs when two stimuli are repeatedly paired. A response, which is at first elicited by the second stimulus, is eventually elicited by the first stimulus alone. Now, when it comes to operant conditioning, that's a process by which humans and animals learn to behave in such a way as to obtain rewards and avoid punishments. Types of learning continue. Now, it's very, very important to keep in mind there are so many other different types of learning. We also have motor learning, perceptual learning, and relational learning. Now, when it comes to motor learning, those are changes and responses of the motor system following a stimulus. Now, perceptual learning, that's the ability to learn to recognize stimuli that have been perceived before. And lastly, when it comes to relational learning, those are connections between the association cortex and includes spatial learning. Next, we have types of memory. Sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Now, when it comes to sensory memory, it's a very brief memory that allows people to retain impressions of sensory information after the original stimulus has ceased. When it comes to sensory memory, it's usually the first stage of the memory registering process. Short-term memory, now this particular memory is a fairly small amount of information that stays active in our mind for a short period of time. Now, long-term memory, the memory process in the brain that takes information from short-term memory, stores and creates long-lasting memories. Now, just how we said before, without short-term memory, we can't have long-term memories because all in all, it specifically starts with these short-term memories that we come in contact with each and every day. In order to have long-term memories, they're really just taking these short-term memories and deciding whether or not this is an experience that we would like to remember for a lifetime. Now, with that being said, a lot of individuals tend to say long term memories are just another word for core memories. Now, core memories can be an event or an experience that we endured when we were either younger, and it's a specific memory that has stayed with us over time. Now, that can be either good or bad. Either way, that core memory has stayed with us for such a long period of time, it has formed into a long term memory. Next, we have facts about learning. Your brain gets bored. Yes, this is very, very true. It's known that your brain has the ability to get bored once you have familiarized yourself with a particular subject. Blood flow will reduce in those areas of the brain. So think about it. You know, when you always hear the gifted children can't be in a regular school setting because they're in a situation where they are bored. And it's known that when they tend to get bored in those situations, blood flow is not being pumped through that specific part of their brain. Hence the fact that our brain has the ability to do such. This is why, in a sense, that these gifted kids cannot be in a regular school setting. Next, we have sleeping helps you remember things. Now, that is very true. When you fall asleep at night, your brain is storing new and existing information, hence the importance of getting a good night's rest before a test. Now, this is something that we have heard from middle school, elementary school, high school, and even college, the importance of getting a good night's rest before a test the next day. If you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. When we're sleeping at night, that is a time where our brain is at rest. And that is a time where it's taking all the necessary information and it's constantly, making sure that it's taking the time to actually remember specific things that we need to be remembered. Hence the fact that when we have a test the next day, how important it is to get a good night's rest so that you're able to remember all of the important information that you have to for that particular time. Lastly, we have your brain adapts to damage. That is right. If by chance a portion of your brain gets injured, your brain adapts to said injury and moves all necessary information to another part of your brain. Facts about memory. Our brains are able to store countless amounts of information. Now, with that being said, it's important to know that memory starts to work just 20 weeks after conception. This ultimately means that memory starts to form in the womb. Now, we have all heard that when it comes to first time mothers, it is so important and crucial for them to try to form a bond with their child while they're still in the womb. Hence, it being said, memory starts to work just 20 weeks after conception. If you think about that, that comes into play with the mother reading to the baby while they're in the womb, talking to the baby, playing music for the baby, just things of that nature to kind of help the baby get a sense of attachment while still being in the womb. Lastly, we start to forget childhood memories when we're in childhood. Many of you might not know that that is actually called childhood amnesia. Now, with that, their study found that while children between the ages of 5 and 7 remembered 60% or more of their early life events, 8 and 9-year-olds recall less than 40% of the same memories. Now, if you take a moment to look back to something or whatever you were doing when you were at the age of 6, 7, or even 8, are you able to remember any events that took place around that time? The answer will probably be no. And that's simply because you have already been through the process of childhood amnesia. It started while you were still in childhood, which is why a lot of children aren't able to remember a lot of their childhood memories. Lastly, I want to take a moment and discuss the hippocampus. The hippocampus is involved in converting short-term memories into long-term memories. The hippocampus is not the location of long-term memories, nor crucial for their retrieval. It's also important to note that the hippocampus is not the location of short-term memories. That is the end of my presentation, and I would like to thank you all for watching.